Welcome back to the More Smarter Show, the #1 business mindset and strategy podcast with your hosts, Jake and Dylan. This is episode 36.
Yep.
Jake, what do we have on the agenda today?
Today we have John Schlaffer, and John is local to us in New Jersey. He's a real estate guy. Started his own brokerage and then merged with Keller Williams, and now is a leader there. John, welcome to the show, and I really like your shirt.
Thank you. $29 on Amazon.
That's
You
my
can have
boy.
it for 30.
Good businessman.
Yeah, there we go.
John, tell us a little bit about your background in real estate and business.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to start by saying I didn't found Clearview Realty. So a little bit of
Sorry.
background about me. I've been in real estate for 9 years. I started at kind of a big box broker for the first 2 years of my career. And I was really just looking for that next level of mentorship, just looking to kind of grow my business and take the next step. I felt like I had a good foundation and base to where I was, and I was just looking for that more top producer mindset. So I reluctantly, after 7 interviews and saying no 6 times, on the 7th time decided to join a small boutique brokerage called Clearview Realty at the time. That was 2019 or 2018, something like that. And long story short, it was 9 real estate agents. Everyone was essentially a top producer and really just boutique and collaboration focused. During my time there, I kind of became a general manager shortly after, and then ended up buying and acquiring the company from my mentor about 18 months later. So I ran that company from 2020. I actually took over the company January 1st, 2020. 3 months later, the world shut down. COVID happened, and I thought I made the biggest mistake of my life.
Oh my God. How'd you get through that?
Well, lots of communication, right? Lots of just kind of pushing forward in the mindset of teams first, environment, culture first. And luckily, we were able to kind of quit. I will say it was an advantage being a smaller brokerage at the time. You know, we were about 12 agents maybe at that point, and it was a lot easier to just have kind of a mindset of one person allowed in the office per time. So we kind of just had like more of like a registry with clients and things like that as to who's attending when and when. But overall, it ended up being, a blessing in disguise. Real estate market took off, multiple offers, prices, valuations went up, as you both know. And it's been a good journey so far.
You said that you were licensed and became a general manager 18 months later, or even maybe bought the brokerage 18 months later. Did I hear that correctly?
At the second brokerage. So I actually started my broker school 2 years and 9 months into the industry, because you have to in New Jersey be 3 years into the industry. But I thought, well, if I start at 3 months before, by the time I complete broker school, I'll be at that 3-year mark. Then I can just take the test. So I did that, and basically 3 years and 2 weeks, I got my broker's license. And then around 3.5 years into the industry, I acquired and owned Clearview Realty at that time.
I think about myself as a newer agent, and I saw Dylan firsthand as a newer agent, so I could speak on both of us. We knew absolutely nothing. And a year goes a long way in the industry when you're doing it right and when you're listening to the right people and surrounding yourself with the right crew. So when I started versus a year after I started, those were 2 different people. I mean, for me, I ended up quitting teaching like 2 or 3 years into my real estate agent career. So it's crazy how much you can acquire of knowledge if you do it right, if you're a new realtor.
Absolutely. I always had the mindset my dad always taught me, regardless if you're doing brain surgery or, scrubbing toilets. No disrespect to either industry, but whatever you're doing in life, do it at the highest level and be the best example of yourself at what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I mean, if you have that mindset going into it, you're going to succeed in a business like this, where it's all like, it's all just like self-motivated stuff. And you really have to represent yourself and your clients the best way possible, which kind of flows into the next point of it is when you get started in, being a realtor, you are managing clients, but you went all the way almost to the highest rank of what you can do in real estate, which is, being a broker and owning a brokerage. So was that, there's like a kind of a 2-part question. Was that always the goal And if it was, how hard was that switch from managing clients? I know you still sell real estate, but how hard was that switch from managing clients to now managing agents?
Two answers to that. First quick answer is when I got started, I always knew I wanted to have my own brokerage because, to be honest, I just thought that was what every real estate agent wanted at that time with some, not knowing now what I know. I will say now, and in my kind of 9-year journey, the industry's changed a lot in a lot of ways for the better, in my opinion. I don't actually believe as much in the brokerage model and the importance of owning a brokerage. I believe that the team structure is the way of the future, and it's already been that way for the last few years within real estate. And really, your team is a brokerage within the brokerage model, and kind of running an efficient team, you can make 30 to 40 percent margin splits there, whereas a brokerage
No
model's usually 3 to
way.
5% margins. So in my opinion, there's so many more brokerages out there from teams and team models that are really running the best brokerages right now.
Do you mind just quickly explaining the difference of a brokerage and a team within a brokerage for any listeners who don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. So the brokerage is going to take a lot of liability, responsibility, insurance. During COVID, we had a lot of people who were waiving inspections, waiving appraisals. And, as a broker model, a broker mindset, it's not always things I am necessarily going to agree with, right? And the brokerage doesn't see every single contract that's written, doesn't see every contract that's accepted. So in that world, it's a significant more liability in managing risk. Whereas in the team model, you don't have that risk component because you have the broker to kind of protect it. You have the insurance, you have the layers of protection in place. But the team model, you still have to run it like a brokerage, right? You still have to have your P&Ls, your numbers, and all of your systems in place. And you could do it at a significant price and or discount, and get the same and or better margins.
Totally.
But yeah.
Totally. So if you're a leader of a team, then you are essentially utilizing the back office support or the compliance structure of the brokerage, because every realtor and every team leader needs to be a part of a brokerage.
Mhm.
And you're sort of creating your own business within a business. I totally agree that I personally would never want to own a brokerage because of the liability you mentioned and because starting a team is just way more efficient.
If I did it all over again, I'm not sure I would buy the brokerage, to be completely honest. But what I will say is what it taught me, and now I have the mindset. We have 100 people here where I am at Keller Williams Integrity, and I have the mindset of we need to feed 100 people today. And that does make me a better example of myself. And that's what I have to remind my kids. If I'm working late nights, weekends, daddy's got to go out and I got to make sure I'm putting food on the table for 100 families today, and that's kind of a mindset to attack. And I do believe we'll never know in the end, but I do believe it's made me a better human being, person, father, and an agent and broker because of that.
So naivety or naiveness or naivete or whatever.
Naivete.
I like
That's
naivete.
yeah,
It's
right.
a long story, John.
It's a running joke that I'd never know how to say it properly. But yeah, so that is something that we consistently bring up where you almost have to be not smart in the beginning, not more smarter in the beginning to become more smarter. And there has to
Mhm.
be a more harder route. And the reason you're even going through that route is because you you were naive about the business and you wanted to just go and you were like, let's just do this thing. Um, but the reason why you yourself right now are more smarter and, partnered up with KW and all the great people there is because you learned the hard way of how difficult it is to be a brokerage.
Regardless of what's put in front of us, we always have to be open, at least in my own opinion, to opportunities. And that's the one thing that I can be extremely grateful of. I've had some fantastic opportunities presented to me in life, and I'm a doer, right? I'm an action taker. So in that sense, we are all probably presented with many different great opportunities at different chapters, right? In personal and life and business. And some of those decisions aren't easy and some of them are. But at the end of the day, if we're not moving and shaking and we're not, being efficient with our time, then we're not going to get anything done.
So what does your day look like now that you have merged? Is merged the correct word?
Yes.
Okay, so you merged brokerages with it from the smaller Clearview Realty into a KW, which is obviously a bigger brand. What does your
Yep.
day look like now?
Well, I'll say it hasn't changed too much besides having kind of better systems, tools, and training in that sense. I'm still in the same position, same roles I was in with my own brokerage, which was part of the attraction in that sense. But again, just it was a win-win in the sense that what my goal was to be in 10 states with 10 offices in 10 years, right? That was kind of the 10-year plan. And I did New Jersey, and then I had an office in New York, and I was working on an office in PA when kind of all of this was presented at that time. And, I was a hard no. I was an easy no. But when I looked at it through the lens of my agents as opposed to myself, and it was, if that's my goal in 10 years and my agents are getting access to better systems, tools, technology, and training, what am I doing? I'm actually holding myself and my team back from success. And that's not my vision. That's not my goal. So the day doesn't look too much different. I'm a morning riser. I wake up at 3:59 a.m. Try and beat the world by a minute if I can, or at least the Navy SEALs. That's kind of my approach to the day. But I also try and go to bed by 8 p.m., so start strong, finish strong. And then, 5 o'clock, I try and get a hard stop to be a present father, in my world. And, I will say I've gotten a lot of my time back because I now have, a bigger team.
Yeah, Jake, one of many things that I really admire about John is he takes the family life super super seriously, and I think you've earned the ability to do that with your hard work in previous years, to where now you acknowledge that this is such a significant time in your family that you're not going to miss a second. And again, John and I go over goals and all that sort of stuff, and John has specifically mentioned, like, no phone near the kids. I want to be present father, and having those known things where it's, you want to be a present father, you want to be the mentor in their life, transfer over to business is like, of course you're successful. If that's a goal in your family life, then of course you're going to be successful in business. So
It's
what
more
other
smarter. Yeah, it's
yeah.
more smarter everything. It's the 6 F's that we talk about a lot because they all intertwine with one another.
Yeah, exactly. So before we go into all of that, because there's so much, I want to stay really quick on the Clearview side, where, because you almost put in that sweat equity to be where you are now. Tell me about those dog days of what you were doing, where you said you were working from like 4 in the morning to 11 at night, 6 or 7 days a week. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, that was really my life before kids. So I'm incredibly thankful for my wife in that sense because she definitely put up with it, and she's a top producer in her own world. She's a mortgage lender, but um, there was a point in my life where I like to say it was kind of do or die in that sense. We grew to about 36 real estate agents at that time, doing around 100 million in production and sales, and I had one admin for the entire office. I was still cutting the bills, literally paying the electric bill. I like to say, it, to some degree, I was like a toilet paper manager, which is what I didn't want to do, right? I'm the guy buying the toilet paper, putting the toilet paper up, and then also managing everything else, right? Which is not the correct way to do it, to be clear. But that's where my work-life balance was so imbalanced. I had a 67-day period where I didn't have a day off. And in 78 days, I had one day off, right? And that's not the life I want to live. So that's when I kind of put all of my energy into work-life balance.
And we talk about that again. It's, you have to work. A lot of times you don't know what you don't know. Naivety. So
Mhm.
you have to work more harder before you work more smarter, because then you figured out what is important to you after you realize through experience what you went through. So let me ask on a real estate level, why would a realtor join Clearview Realty?
So we were actually, fun fact, the highest producing agent for, I'm sorry, we had the highest volume based on production per agent model. So when I had around, and that was from like before I was there till after I was there, our average agent was doing 4.1 million in production. And we carried that until we were about a 28 person office, meaning we were doing around 85 million ish in sales with 28 people. And I had probably 5 to 10 people who didn't really sell real estate, who were more roster hangers in some respect. But we had a lot of top producers. I had at one point, I think it was 10 Circle of Excellence winners out of the 26 people in my office, so it was all focused on being the best. We weren't a part-time agency. We weren't a part-time brokerage. It was respectfully, there's other big boxes that were better to suit that type of agent clientele, but we were focused on producing top producers, and I had more time and energy to kind of put that production model in. I want to say something that's just kind of top of mind going back on that family thought. The funny thing about business and success is a lot of us commonly use the excuse, I'm doing this for my family. I'm working so hard for my family. And, it might be extra hours, nights, weekends, overtime. The funny thing is, in reality, is usually we say this to ourselves, but our family never asked for this. In reality, you're actually taking yourself away from your family to work hard for your family. And that's kind of when I shifted my mindset to say, well, if I'm working for my family, then I need to be there for my family first, which is also why I start the day so early. I can get 3 hours of work in before my kids are awake. That's my grind time.
Yeah, I think I've been hearing recently that that's called dad hours now. Like in the morning, anytime before like 7 a.m., it's strictly for dad to get stuff done. You're taking full advantage of that.
So I asked about why someone would join Clearview Realty, which is a small brokerage. And now I'm going to ask why or how you can shift from such a small brokerage to probably the biggest brokerage, Keller Williams, right, in America. So how do you communicate that to the people? Hey, everything that we were, now we are the opposite in terms of our back end.
Yeah, great question. To be honest, I'm not sure you can ever play that transition out perfectly. I did kind of the best I could do in that sense. Going back, I probably would have maybe changed one or two things. I did lose some people through that fall through. I lost some great agents in that time. I had 36 agents, and I think 29 of them came over. So I did lose around 7 to 9 people. Again, this wasn't in my forecast, so I think I definitely misled a lot of people through that transition leading up because it wasn't something I ever thought would happen. But when I put the team first mindset as before as to what they're getting from an experience perspective, that was the win. At the end of the day, I did a town hall meeting and I basically gave everyone 2 months to make a decision. I tried to give everyone as long as possible. I had that meeting in October 2024, and we really kind of went in January 1st, 2025. So I tried to play it out as long as I could before I just had to get to the point where, listen, guys, we got to move the license or we got to go elsewhere.
And was that overall taken well by the agents there?
Yes and no, right? Some took it really, really well. Some took it to heart and didn't take it well. I wasn't making the decision for those who weren't on board. I was making the decision from a majority kind of perspective. I've realized in the broker role, we can try to kind of give our hearts and be open and honest with one another and the agents in our world, but we can't please everyone, and I'm content with that. I want to help everyone and do my best, but there's a person and a brokerage and employment and something for everyone. And I know I'm not here for everyone, but I will give it my all for those who are on the journey with me.
If you're pleasing everyone, you're not doing enough moving and shaking.
Exactly.
That's a fact. That is a fact. That was hard for me to come to grips with because, again, I come from a teacher and coach background, and it's kind of like a people-pleasing industry, and you want to be liked by everybody. And I also have just been kind of liked my whole life in general. I don't really like when people dislike me. And real estate was the first time I came across rejection, really, like at a high level. And now I love rejection. I really do, because when that happens, I say, okay, that means I had enough yeses to earn that no. That rejection would hurt, but I'm obviously doing enough business where I'm like, yes, I earned that rejection.
Absolutely, man. It's really more smarter, right? At the end of the day, rejection's only going to make you stronger and better, a better version of yourself.
Absolutely. It was funny though, is it's usually referred to in the reverse sense, where it's like you hit enough no's where you earned a yes. It's funny that you put it that way.
Well, it's that too. It's all intertwined. In my property management business, it's more so what I'm thinking. I mean, there's no way we win every bid that we put out when they're interviewing 5 different companies. And when we don't get one, I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. Now I hate you, and now I know who to look for. I'll write you down. I'll follow up in 3 years. But hell yeah, we needed. I needed to be home with a little bit.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's like that Drake song that he says something like that. But yeah, so um yeah, I mean that so let's roll back into now the KW spot where you make that merge, you come over, now you're a part owner in a big company. In terms of your day-to-day, it doesn't change. Would you say now your grand scheme thought of where the future lies now, because it wasn't in your plans, how much did that change? And was that part of the change that made you want to be balancing life a little bit more?
Yeah, there was a few thoughts on that. The biggest part was I don't know what I don't know in reality. Being a broker owner for 5 years, I felt like I was capped within my own world. I felt like, yeah, you can always find the next book, the next podcast, the next best thing, but I wasn't surrounding myself or putting myself in enough big rooms. I wasn't networking enough. I wasn't having the right conversations. So that became part of it psychologically, something I didn't really even think of until I was in the rooms in reality, and I was absorbing and learning and growing every day. And, now I'm still newer in this position. I've only been here a little over a year. And, I had a great conversation last night with another agent and a few others at the table. And I took away so many notes that and perspectives that I've never even thought about in this industry. Regardless of where we are today, if we're focused on being better tomorrow, having the right network and support is tremendous, regardless if it's real estate or any industry, and that part has been the biggest change. Something that was taken into consideration, but definitely underestimated until it was in effect.
I totally agree. I think that people who are new to real estate don't realize how little the brokerage matters in terms of branding, but
Hmm.
how much it matters in terms of people you surround yourself with, right? I mean, if I started Shithead Realty, I think I would get as many sales as I currently get because none of my clients know what brokerage I'm with.
You might get
But
more.
I might get more because that'd be good branding, actually.
Yeah.
Shit, that's a good idea.
Shithead.
Shithead Realty, yeah. But yeah, but I do. Would you agree with my statement there?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, clients are going to work with the agent they want to work with
Yeah.
over the brokerage they want to work. And I've said that to many agents. With that said, if you don't have that world, a lot of agents in this industry don't know where to start. They just simply don't know where to start. We're not micromanaged, we're the 1099 position independent contractors. And kind of get in that direction, where to start, who to surround yourself with is huge. And again, I don't think that applies just to real estate. I think that's in all industries.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason why we started this podcast too, is there isn't a playbook for
Mm.
entrepreneurship or being a business owner. And if we can sit down with as many business owners, maybe this could be the playbook for someone that's starting off. And that's actually our most recent episode we had was the 18-year-old high school student. He came on and he was like saying, "Oh, I'm thinking about starting a business." And I think if he just listened back to all 36 of these episodes, he has a college education there.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
not that
agree.
far, but
No,
yeah.
if that far, I agree. I agree.
But yeah, so it's just surrounding yourself with those people and getting those relationships and learning how to propel yourself further.
I think in our industry too, there is a lot of training when it comes to being a new agent. Now, training and experience are two different things, so you can only teach someone so much without going through the motions. What I actually think there is not a ton on, and I think there's an opportunity for maybe someone like you, John, or someone in a higher position to go from that 5-year mark where you're like really content with your sales to blasting into being a top producer.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a high turnover rate industry. 90% of the real estate agents who
Yeah.
get their license are out of the industry in 24 months. I think those who are proven to have that skill set from like an entry level new agent perspective, then they move into kind of the world of movable middles, right? Where they can go either direction. They can continue to kind of progress and learn and grow, but it's also It's funny because in the broker role, I've actually learned a little bit that I thought everyone wanted to be the best example of themselves. That couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in this industry who are very content with their business, and that's okay. And they don't want to take that next step. Regardless of what that reason is, that's something to understand too. You
That
know,
would be
so
me. That would be me. I totally agree. I didn't realize that that would be me a few years ago, and I feel
mhm.
like that is me.
Yeah, and that's good, right? And if that's the case, then I would say, how can we do the same with less hours? So you can get more fulfillment and joy elsewhere in life, but still make that, that bread or that money you want to make in that moment.
So let's dive into this a little bit more because I'm the opposite of that. I want
Mhm.
the world. I want to sell the world to aliens. Like Jake, why? What's your mindset behind that? Like, why do you want that?
Well, I want a more smarter life. So, of course, would I rather make a $1 million commission than a $10,000 commission? Yes. Do I want to put in the hours it takes to make a $1 million commission? I don't. I really don't. I will have a family someday soon too. Like John's talking about being a dad. I mean, it's more smarter and I want to make sure I'm prioritizing my health. I track my sleep. I don't eat sugar anymore. Like those things are increasingly important to me in my 30s than how many sales I do.
Mm. Now, if we're going about the six Fs though, finances is still one of them. So it's still it's still obviously a layer of importance though in your life where this has to be established and
Of course.
you can't just go into the business being that I'm, newer than both of you guys and say, yeah, I just want to live this well-balanced life. There has to be a level of hard work where John was working from 4 to 11 p.m. every single day. And there has to be that level, I think.
I agree. I agree. I actually feel like I'm in that now still. I do think I think I work pretty smart, but I'm definitely not working the most smartest and I definitely have room for improvement there, but I also realize I don't have kids. I don't have a family that I need to be up at 3:59 for. So I can work a little more dumber now versus in the future.
Yes and no. My advice to you would be this is your opportunity to do that. So when that time comes or you have different
Yeah.
chapters in life, right, you do get to reward yourself then, like you said. But either way, it's funny because, I think the important part is what does success look like to you? Because it's different for all of us, right? I talk to some agents who want to make $10,000 a year, and I talk to some agents who want to make $1 million a year, right? We're all in different worlds, different levels, and different circumstances. So, what does success mean to you is kind of where I like to start those conversations.
That's an amazing start of a question because when we get our real estate license, us three all probably feel this way. Success meant to us selling the most amount of houses, making the most amount of money. And then you start shifting what success looks like to you because it's not the only part of life is not selling houses. So there's other businesses, there's other investments, and there's other F's in the world. So that is a great. I love that question because it looks different to everyone.
Absolutely. And it's not always financially based either,
Nope.
right? Some people, real estate's not commonly a first career choice. We deal with a lot of second, third, and even fourth retiree careers, right? Where a lot of people in this industry have a pension or they have a comfort or they've built kind of a platform or a foundation where they don't need to sell real estate, you know? Um, so it looks different for all of us.
Yeah, well, I think with that sort of stuff though, it really puts it changes the way you go about your business and life, the way that
Mm.
the establishment that you have, obviously. For me, being younger this is my first, career path compared to a lot of the people, like what you're saying, where I may be way more hungry than people, and that will lead me to at one point probably not probably definitely working more dumber and where almost the More Smarter show has saved me in that sense was challenging that with saying, yes, I know you want to go 1,000 miles an hour. You could still do that. Reel it in a little bit. Check yourself every week on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and try and learn how to go 1,000 miles an hour, working the most efficiently you possibly can.
I mean,
Yeah.
you had a problem with this 10 a.m. time slot because your phone is probably ringing right now,
I
and so
know.
is
Yeah, it
mine.
is.
And I had to be like, no,
So
that's
is
literally
John's
the
too.
freaking point. That's the point. Like, it's okay.
Yeah,
We can call them back. That is the point of this.
Absolutely.
true.
That's the game changer. My phone lives on silent 24 hours a day.
Same, same. It's really hard to call me, and I don't mean to be unapproachable, but just fucking text me. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, if we're
Yeah.
just focused on answering our phone, answering our texts, answering our emails, we're not getting anything on the actual bucket list accomplished. So we need to have these buckets where we have these, in my opinion, catch up times in between to say, this is my productivity time. This is my catch up time. During this time, I'm focused on this task. Until I complete this task, I'm then moving back towards replying to texts, calling people back and doing all of that in a timely manner. But I think I don't know, it's a deeper conversation, but I think as human nature, we've gotten so addicted to our phones that it's almost like offensive when you don't pick up the call when it comes in, and maybe we could talk about that more to change the world and say, it's okay. Yeah, I love some cultures, how they just completely disconnect from the world, from a certain time to a certain time. And that's kind of where I'm leaning to, not from a religious perspective, but from a
Same.
mindset perspective.
Exactly. Business mindset and strategy podcast. That's part of it. Absolutely. So, I mean, people will see my phone ringing and I won't answer it, and they'll be like, "Oh, Jake, your phone's ringing," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I know." They'll text me or something like, "It's a number I don't have. Don't worry about it." And they'll be like, "Well, isn't that potentially a sale?" And I say, "Well, if it is, they'll definitely text me. And if it's some random lead, a cold call situation, then I don't want to talk to them because that's not a sale that I'm interested in unless they're
Mhm.
a friend of a friend, but they'll text me again. If they want to reach me, they will." So how do you feel about that, what I just brought up? Like, I'm not into the all door knocking, random person I don't know, let me try to sell your house and let me work with you, because I don't think it leads to the same effective result as someone you personally know or are personally referred to.
Yeah, again, it kind of goes back to the what does success look like to you question. I will say, with leads, naturally your conversion rate's going to be significantly higher with those warmer and hot leads, right? Sphere of influence, people we know, or a little bit of that comfort zone. I agree. I usually let my phone go to voicemail, not because I don't want to pick up the call, but because I'm busy. Like I'm not just sitting here twiddling my thumbs throughout the day. I'm not just hanging out on a podcast for an hour. But it's a joke, obviously. But
I got you.
letting go into that buckets, we can best manage our time. I'm a big proponent of deep work. And if you get those distractions and allow those, even if it's a 2-minute distraction to pull you away from your task, it's going to take you so much mental energy and capacity to get back into that deep focus and work that interruption isn't worth it. Because not only is that time of the interruption affecting your business and your life, but to get back into where you were, you might not even get back into where you were, depending on the day and your mindset.
Yeah, and that's dad hours. You have that 3:59 wake up, and you can get your things locked in. And on that note, 3:59 not only has an importance for you with every day you wake up, but what else is 3:59 revolving around in your life right now?
Well, I am currently writing a book called 3:59 a.m. So
Nice.
hopefully I can get this book finished before you guys blow up like is well deserved and published. But basically, it's a chapter style book with a focus of each hour of the day. And the book is really important to me because it's kind of my thoughts, my work on how to approach each and every day to get the most out of the day, right? Whether it's in business entrepreneurship or it's just on a vacation day, right? Like, how can we maximize our day? And should anything happen to me in life, I want to have something that hopefully, my wife and my kids can go back to say, what would dad do in this moment? And that's why it's important, especially with AI and all of that kind of being integrated and taken over. I do think we're going to see 1 million books published a year kind of going forward with it being easier to leverage different things, and I want to get mine out before that really happens.
So are you utilizing AI for this book?
Yes and no. A lot of the times, you can use it to kind of get your thoughts and things like that. You have to in that degree. I started like 42 pages, just like deep thought, random kind of randomized thoughts. And then from there, broke it up into each chapter of the book because, uh, once you write a book in its chapter, it's substantially easier to complete. So now I'm at the point where I have anywhere between 1 and 10 pages per each chapter. So I'll start my morning with which chapter is the lightest. This one has 2 paragraphs. This one has a page. Let's add a page to this today, right? And just that mindset alone, it's a little bit easier to kind of bounce around and what's top of mind, what's fresh, what's something energy to kind of put back into the book from a mindset thought perspective.
Yeah, totally. And it's what I love about the whole book part is what you were saying before. It's if it's not only something that you can, stand on as a professional and maybe sell it or get it fully published, but it's something for your family and
Mhm.
goes fully back full circle now with what you're working hard for. And if you're dedicating your time not only, over the weekend or like after 5 p.m. to your family, but you're also building this legacy for yourself in something that will, be passed down generation to generation. Like, hey, grandpa John wrote this book back in 2026, and you can use it now in 2089 or whatever it is. Yeah, like
It's
that's cool.
what does success look like to you, right? Because John is describing a legacy as what success looks like to him. And that's super cool. By the way, John, I wrote a children's book in 2017. So if you need tips on
I
like the
love that.
publishing thing, it was before AI. So that's why I asked the AI question. But let me know if you
Yeah,
need help with any of that part.
I'm sure I definitely will, and I definitely will not be self-publishing it. I've
Nice.
decided that.
So I don't want to go back and forth a bunch, but one thing that we didn't really touch on in your application was one of your goals was for KW to have 500 million in total sales volume in a year. Now, I want to dive deep into how you are going to help facilitate that as being like the broker team leader that you are.
Yeah, so great question. We did 2025 at our Sparta office, 272 million in sales volume. So essentially it's the kind of 2x double it, slightly short of that. We can do it in 2 ways, right? We're going to have to do it on the coaching end to get more production out of our current roster and team. And then we're going to have to add top talent as well. And I think kind of going a divide and conquer of both routes within our productivity coaching program and within our growth models. But really it's just a focus to kind of put us on the map in some regards. We're based in Sussex County, which is 600 real estate agents on the SCAR board. Comparing that to the neighboring county, Morris County, we have 16,000 real estate agents. So um, it's just always kind of a 2x, 3x model within my head year over year. That's always the approach.
So your brokerage 2x, 3x per year. Now, do you have the systems in place to handle that type of increase in production?
Yes and no. I have a fantastic real estate coach who's incredible with systems. Ironically, his name is John too. But he's really been beneficial and significantly valuable in kind of in putting better thoughts and systems into my world. I'm not a systems guy, to be honest. I'm more of a grinded out type of personality, find a way to do it somehow, whether it's waking up early or staying up late. And that's kind of the transition too into really that top producer mindset is you get to a point where straight hustle and energy doesn't carry you to that next step, So to your point, to put in those correct systems and models, to work smarter is 2,000,000% the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, step one of being a systems guy is knowing that you're not a systems guy. So you're on step two. So good job. But
Thank
I
you.
can't imagine not having some serious systems in place. I think that it sounds like that's what you're going to be doing. But I, my brain, I mean, I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about shit and I do think I'm a systems guy. So it really stresses me out to think that someone might not be and who's doing probably more shit than me. So be a systems person, please.
Yeah, and just to put that in layman's terms, when I got my real estate license in 2016, I never had an email. Like I had an email to sign up for BS things. I literally didn't even know how to reply to an email. So I tried to like take everything from I came from the hospitality world. I actually got my real estate license because I wanted to open up a restaurant. I didn't even want to do real estate. I just looked at real estate as an easy avenue to make some extra money so that hopefully I could then self-fund a restaurant. I'm a people person. I like to work with people, help people, food, culture. Those are kind of my passions and my relationships. And it's funny because I ended up quitting the restaurant industry rather quickly once I kind of fell in love with the no ceiling aspect of real estate and what can be done.
It seems like that's very, very common for people that are, high aspirations.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Jake wrote a children's book while he's being a teacher. That's the
Hmm.
entrepreneurial route, and then you have the goals of starting your own restaurant. It's like, of course you're gonna want to just do this full time and dominate. So that's really cool, and you've come a long way from not being able to respond to an email.
Yeah,
Yes,
you
I know how
responded
to.
well to ours.
I can respond now, or maybe it's my director of ops doing it for me. You'll never know.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. So real quick, do you have any virtual assistants that are under you?
Virtual assistants, no. I have a director of operations and I have a personal assistant.
A virtual assistant will teach you how to be an systems person real fast. That'll
Absolutely.
be probably your cheapest tuition into being more of a systems person. Take the hit, realize that it's a 6 weeks, whatever, 4 month, whatever, however long that relationship is. But if you try to create a system for them to follow and then they break it and then you have to change it and then you change it and then you yell at them and they yell at you, that is the best systems tuition you could ever have.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And to be honest, I don't have an excuse. It's been too long. I need to get one more for you.
Yeah, well, that's the more smarter show effect. Just
I
it
love
makes
it.
like same with me. It's the challenges
Dylan, you
every single
too.
week.
Virtual assistant, I think.
Yeah.
You don't have one, right?
Well, no, it's funny that you say that because John and I, like, he keeps telling me that one of my goals this year should be hiring an assistant, especially if I want to, get to the next level of selling the amount of houses that I want to sell. So, I mean, that's totally a goal of mine, and it'll teach
Yeah.
me to be a systems person for sure.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you go into it knowing it's gonna fail, and like that this is your again tuition, or like you gotta stand in the batter's box and strike out to learn how to hit it first. I mean, I've been through many virtual assistants, landed on some great ones finally, but I had to go through the frogs or whatever to find my prince.
And that seems to be very common. I believe that everyone I know who uses virtual assistants has kind of gone through their ups and downs to get to the right ones or the ones that they, really see eye to eye with in their vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have any typhoons come into your virtual assistants? So.
I have stories about that. Yeah, those make me nervous. But
No,
again,
really.
you need systems in place. That's exactly the example, right? You need
Mhm.
to have backup. You need to know what they're supposed to be doing, what you will have to fill in if they cancel for the day. My wife's virtual assistant canceled for a power outage, like Dylan had during this episode, at 7 a.m. yesterday, and the shift starts at 9 a.m. So my wife she's a business owner as well. She had to step in, and she's now realizing maybe she needs another person in case that ever happens again. And these are just thoughts you're having instead of for me, selling more houses. Like, I always want to do that. I like money, but I like having the thoughts of systems and operations way more. I think that's going to take me farther. Even though it might be slower, it's going to take me farther.
Do you
100% it
think
will.
do you think it'll take you further in just being a business person? Because there's a debate where it wouldn't take you further in making money.
How so in making money?
Because I think if you were to close, let's say you were to be a realtor and close 50 deals a year, you make way more money than you do owning and operating a really successful company where you have systems down pat.
Mm-hmm. So again, John's question of what does success look like to you? 50 deals sounds really successful to me if it's in my way of doing it. It doesn't sound successful if I'm not sleeping for a year. So, John, I don't know if you listened to a couple episodes ago, but I was actually in Florida for a month at Dylan's girlfriend's condo with my wife, and we're both, business owners and realtors, and it was really a test to us. We just got back last week. It was really a test to us. Can we operate a New Jersey run realtor business and other businesses in Florida for a full month? And it wasn't December with nothing going on. It was January into February, which for me, for some reason, historically is like the busiest time of the year. Right now I'm smacked. And like happy to say, yeah, we got 4 deals under contract together and we didn't see any of those houses. We're talking about buyers. We have showing assistants, we have admin. And we're putting in a ton of work. We're not just like on a beach in Florida while everyone else does our work, we get paid. No. I'm putting in more work probably, but different work. I'm on the phone all day with my buyers and running CMAs and calling listing agents and negotiating. And so is Meg. And it was such a cool experience for us because we're like, oh, we have a virtual assistant, we have a TC, we have a showing assistant in all different counties. This can work. We're still the real estate brain.
You just described real estate at, kind of the highest level and really the future of real estate. That's 100% what reality is, right? Is we tell ourselves we need to be there and present for everything, but you need to be there for what you need to be there for. In my opinion, that's experience, knowledge, negotiating, other aspects. Physically, is it the best use of your time to open that door, right? Or to be there for an inspection? I'm not the inspector. Why should I be there for the inspection, right? I need to be focused on negotiating this deal on the side, not being present through a walkthrough. So you're right. And kudos to you and your wife to enjoy that time and kind of get that work-life balance.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Jake is actually moving down to Florida forever now, so he'll be gone.
Not doing that, but that would be nice. I do want to buy a place there, and we do that every winter, and honestly, December is probably better because we typically have less business going on. It was a little stressful doing this when with so much business going on, but really proved to ourselves that it's possible. And we're able to give, like you mentioned, John, we're able to give our clients actually more of more of our strengths, when a more tedious task can just be hired out.
You're actually giving them better service too.
Better service, exactly.
Which is ironic, right? If you go to a doctor's office and the doctor checks you in, says, okay, the doctor will be right with you, runs back to the other office to exam someone, runs to the other office to exam someone, comes back to pay the bill for someone, goes back to the phone. Do you want to work with that doctor, or do you want to work with a doctor who has, plug and play system and processes in place?
Great analogy.
Phenomenal way to end it there. So John, where can people find you?
You can find me on my cell. I'll call you back in my catch-up blocks. That's 862-268-4726. You can find me on Instagram, social media. It's first name, last name, John Schlaffer, John, period, Schlaffer, Schlaffer.
Awesome. And be on the lookout for the 359 book, everyone. And so everyone, thank you for listening to the More Smarter Show. Follow along.
Only if you like
Jake.
it.
Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John.